Hey, how's the form? Welcome into the Irish NFL show, week 6 of the NFL season. This is the NFL week 6 Sunday podcast. If you're listening to us on the podcast, a warm welcome. And if you're watching us live or watching the video, welcome in. We're presented by Castley Travel, Ireland's numero uno, number one travel agent. Check out the link in the bio on our podcast or on our YouTube channel to contact Castley Travel for your NFL holidays. They still have packages available for the Jaguars Broncos game at the end of the month. Do check it out, and also check out the link to get Game Pass this weekend. Some clangers of games on in Game Pass this weekend. Blackout Supply. Check out the bio for that. Colin Cronin, first off, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Michael. We are sitting here, I think, with the biggest story of the NFL season, or what should be the biggest story of the NFL season, breaking today. The Dan Schneider news, the fact that the story that Wickerman has put out there is that Snyder has dirt on all the other owners, that he has dirt on Roger Goodell, that he doesn't believe that they can touch him. This should be an absolutely enormous story, but I have absolutely no doubt that the NFL, the owners, and everyone else will do everything they possibly can to make this disappear as quickly as they can.
Brian, the Irish NFL show has no affiliation with the Washington football team or the National Football League or Dan Snyder. How are you doing?
Or the Washington Commanders, as they're called these days. But God, I have to touch on it as well. I'm grand, Michael. I'm grand. It's the NFL world. It never ceases to amaze. Even when we get into the season, there's always a little big storyline lurking in the background. It would explain a lot as to why they haven't really been so proactive, these ownership meetings over the past while, to get rid of Dan Snyder. Bearing in mind the amount of stuff that's gone on, you would think at this stage the owners would have rallied together to find a way to move him on. But maybe the proof is in the pudding, or the proof is in his little bit of evidence that he's been snipping away at. He has a bit of dirt on a bit of everybody. Would make sense to the situation. I still don't think we'll see any of that dirt come out, unfortunately. I think it'll be one of those. They'll keep him around and they'll let him get on with it, and away we go, and then we just carry on. Maybe we should start talking about week 6 on Sunday in particular.
As Gemma Collins once famously said, I'm not getting involved. I'm just going to be me. Let's just get ahead of week 6. Have I put the wrong game in first? Nah, whatever. We'll talk about the game anyway. Jags against the Colts, AFC South battle, going to start off week 6. We'll talk about the Packers, I think, next, but in the wrong order. Colin, I picked against the Jaguars last week, and this is turning into a complete Brit podcast, turning pure Nigel Farage style. I said, you all laughed at me. You all laughed at me last week when I picked the Jaguars. I said something along the lines of, or was it Zach Wilson I was giving out about, or saying that people aren't giving people a fair chance? Anyway, the Texans went into Jacksonville and won. What's your thoughts on this game? I'm honestly really intrigued to see your picks for this game, lads, because the Jags were awful last week and the Colts were complete dog in Denver last week. So this is going to be a fun pick.
This is certainly one of those games, I think, where you could come up with reasons why either of these teams can and should win it. You look at it, and in some ways, the Jags have only given up 6 sacks, and that's great. Like, they're one of the fewest in the league. But in other ways, you kind of look at a performance like last week from Trevor Lawrence, and you think you're not taking the sacks, but you're not performing to the level that we want to see you perform at. And then equally, the Colts and Matt Ryan just giving up so many sacks. And I think if the Colts had possibly faced anyone else other than the Broncos last week, then they would have lost that game. Jonathan Taylor doesn't look like he'll be fit, and I think that's a huge loss given what Dameon Pierce was able to do last week. 17 missed tackles I saw PFF had, which is the most since they started tracking missed tackles. And these games are funny because they usually go in favor of the home team. Obviously, the Colts have been unable to win in Jacksonville, and the Jags have been unable to beat the Texans. So some weird stuff going on in the AFC South. I'm going to say, and I went back and forth on this, but I'm going to say that the Jags actually get the win on this, because I think if you go back to the 2017 game, I believe it was the 10-sack game against the Jacoby Brissett, and they shut out the Colts. I don't expect him to maybe shut out the Colts, but I just think with the way Matt Ryan and that O-line is playing, I expect the Jags front seven to have a field day.
Brian, what's your thought?
Column's beat writer or Colum's source is very different to my source, because I'm hearing that Taylor will play on Sunday, and he returned. They gave him yesterday off as a day to.
Daddies or HP, Brian?
Sorry?
Who's your sauce?
Applesauce. Gardner. Anyway, back to the game in question. I'm hearing he's going to play. I've read a few things tonight that he's come back today. He's been practicing. They're confident he will play on Sunday, and I based my decision and my selection based on him playing, but because I do think he'll come down to the running game. James Robinson has been really, despite the kind of frailties of the last 2 weeks, he's had a really consistent season. It's great to see him back from injury. Trevor Lawrence has had a reasonably good start to the season, and you look at his interceptions and he's only had 4, but I don't think that really tells the story of where he is in terms of the fumbles. And there's been a lot of storylines this week around ball security and whether he can secure the ball and maintain the ball and get the drives going, because now all of a sudden they're questioning how good he is in instances like that, which is a bit surprising, bearing in mind we're only early into the season. I saw some nice things from the Colts last week, despite the poor performance in terms of players stepping up. Pierce, the rookie wide receiver, who people said he had a really good game the week prior to that, 84 yards. I was keen to see how he did last week. He did reasonably well, and yeah, they've had their struggles, and Matt Ryan's had 7 interceptions, but let's not forget, these played each other only a couple of weeks ago. Week 2, it's a bit of a strange that it's come around so quickly. 24-0 that day, complete shutout for the Jags. I don't see it that way this Sunday. I think the Colts defence will be up for it, and if anybody's going to get shut out on Sunday, in my opinion, it's the Jags. I'm going to go with the Colts.
Mark C. Okay. Well, can I just say now, I've hit the wrong button there and I've shown my pick as well. I know for a fact that is not the case with all these picks tonight. I don't think so anyway. It shouldn't be, because they all uploaded on my separate laptops. So genuinely, apologies if that does happen. Should be fine. I'll keep an eye on it throughout the broadcast if needs be. I'm picking the Jaguars because I sort of thought last week that they would have an off week. And by God, did the Colts have an off week, and they still won the game. The Jaguars have got more offensive weapons in the sense of Trevor Lawrence can turn it on more. He's going to have more time and more space to be able to get the ball down the field. If Taylor doesn't play for the Colts, the run game is better for the Jags, and the defense is better on its day, in my opinion, than the Colts. And that's why I'm taking the Jags to win this game and cover the spread against the Colts. And I love how we're one game in and we're already not on the same page. Love it. Absolutely love it. Right, let's look ahead to the Jets against the Packers. If anyone picks the Jets here, honest to God, lads, like this is going to be really, really good crack. Right, who have we got? Colin, who have you got, mate?
So yeah, the Green Bay Packers, 26-3 at Lambeau since Matt LaFleur took over as head coach. And in those games, Aaron Rodgers has thrown for 7,500 yards, 65 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. So you'd have to say pretty impressive from the Packers since LaFleur came in there. And yet, despite their storied history, the Packers have kind of struggled a little bit against the Jets. So certainly the Jets have played them close, even when the Jets have been in the doldrums as they were before the Salah came in. You go back to 2014 and the Packers won, but only by a touchdown, the 31-14. And in 2018, and remember the Jets have really struggled to score points since 2017. They managed to score 38. They still lost the game, but they scored 38 points. you should look at this, I suppose, as Aaron Rodgers is coming in and he is angry and they're coming off a loss and they're licking their wounds a little bit, and this should be an easy victory for the Packers against a young Jets team. But the Packers have really struggled against the run. We saw it last week. And the Jets are able to run the football. They have a real playmaker in Breece Hall. And I am going to say that this is going to be the shock of the week. The New York Football Jets are going to beat the Green Bay Packers.
Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. There is your YouTube title. The Jets to beat the Packers. Jesus, he's been all in, Brian, hasn't he?
He has, but do you know what? I can say it myself. I've been looking at it today. I mean, the Packers this season, they haven't shown up yet. They've won some games against, they beat the Bears. Bears was a comfortable win. They beat a struggling Bucs side at the time. Everybody assumed they would hit the ground running last week. It didn't materialise. They've only averaged 19.5 points per game this season on offense. This is an offense that we were so used to putting up 30-odd points last season. They're giving up 130 yards on average on the run. They're going up against the Jets. As you said, Jets team that are really efficient on the run with Breece Hall. He's been standing there. 275, 2 touchdowns. It's not just about the touchdowns. It's more about what he's bringing to that offense. And he's taking pressure off a quarterback that's just come back from injury. And we've seen it. The Jets are unbeaten on the road. Let's bear, 2 wins out of 2. Steelers and Cleveland. Everything points towards Jets causing a shock. But I can't do it. I can't pick against the Packers this week in particular. Having lost in London last week and having not showed up in the second half. I mean, there's the mantle for the defensive coordinator, isn't it, for the Jets? Look at what Wink Martindale did last week. The game of brotherly love, I would say, more so than anything else, isn't it? LaFleur's brother going against the other brother, head coach against the offensive coordinator of the Jets. I see the head coach coming out on the right side of this one. Close game. Pack really need this. I'm going to go with the Packers.
Mark is going with a pack as well. A lot of people in the comments talking about the Jets. Do get your comments in if you're watching this live, especially on YouTube. Just search Irish NFL Show. We'll call some out at the end. Really appreciate the love and support. Mana. Look, this is plain and simple. This is just simply a Rodgers revenge game. He needs to win this week. They need to win desperately this week. I mean, you lads weren't in the presser last week, no? Like the atmosphere, the feel when LaFleur and Rodgers both came out, they know they desperately don't just need a win. They have to perform over the entire game. They should have went away last week, and to be fair to the Giants, they didn't. Now they need to put up or shut up. The Jets have been excellent over the last few weeks in certain games. I picked them last week, I think it was, or the week before, and they delivered. They are not going to deliver this week. Has to be the Packers for me. I really feel that Green Bay are going to find a way to make it work, both on the run game, and I feel that Packers Nation, Packers fans will finally see Rodgers to Watson connection. And yeah, hopefully it's a good game, but I do think that the Packers will eventually turn it on. They need to for the sake of their season, or else if they do lose this game, LaFleur is going to be under significant pressure, which is going to be interesting to watch. But he was lovely last weekend. I should have put that picture up last week. I was going to say to all the boys on the WhatsApp groups, he was very, very nervous and very he needed some coffee. And then last week he met your boy, and look what happened since. It's the curse of me. They haven't won since. So will the Packers win this weekend? I don't know. I mean, going by the magazines behind me, there is a curse going on there as well. So who knows? But I know Packers fans in England that I'm mates with that are not picking in this weekend, lads. So,
well, Michael, it's just funny you should say that. You said about them being nervous. They were very nervous leading into the game last weekend. You could sense it from a few fans that we spoke to, a bit apprehensive about the game, which quietly played into the Giants' hands. And then I did timestamp a lot of stuff leading up to the week, and I forgot to go back at them because I got a load of Twitter stuff last week about can't wait to go see the Pack for the first time, can't wait to see them crush the Giants, demolish this team, demolish that team, we're the Pack. Their tail between their legs at the moment. Let's see how they get on this weekend. They've been very, very quiet this week, the Packers fans.
I would say for a lot, and I agree with you, I would say just finally that a lot of people, especially in the UK and Ireland, there were a lot of people last week, and I guess with the Giants as well, that have never had a chance to go over to the States to see their team, especially like Wisconsin. Lambeau is not, it's not like getting on an Aer Lingus flight to New York. So I know there was people there last week that may never go to Lambeau, and it meant an awful lot to them. And yeah, they let them down. They didn't win. But props to Mark Murphy. Props to my new coffee friend, LaFleur. Coach LaFleur. Maybe you can win a game this week, mate. Let's see what happens. Zappy time in a bit. Vikings Dolphins is next. I don't even know who's playing a quarterback for the Dolphins. Can someone tell me who it is?
Skylar Thompson.
All right. Let's cut the chase. I'm picking the Vikings because that's the reason why I'm picking them. Colin, who have you got in this game?
Well, Michael, the Vikings haven't beaten the Dolphins in Miami since 1976. That's not far. That's not far off a full 2 decades before you were born. So you're going back a long, long way for the Vikings to actually win in the Sunshine State. But they are facing a Dolphins team that are very beaten up at the moment. Obviously, QB3. They lost. It seems like they were big free agency OL signing. Armstead is out, and I think that's a big loss, especially when you got the QB3 in there. Chase Edmonds is a little bit out of sorts. Running back, I feel, whereas the Vikings are in a better space, you would have to say. We were fortunate to, I suppose, talk to Justin Jefferson after the game in London and kind of his growth as a leader. You heard O'Connell talk about it, the maturity of the team. I do think I'm always a little bit skeptical when it comes to the Vikings, but I am going to pick them for this. I think that they should do the business and win in Miami for the first time in nigh on 50 years.
It's funny, me and Michael recorded a separate podcast today for the betting perspective, and I put this up as the bet of the week, and I also said with the concern around the fact that I'm selecting a team that, as Mark always says, when you think about picking them, don't pick them. But it's more so because, as you said, the frailties the Dolphins are dealing with. Tyreek Hill is going to play, but he was injured at the end of the game last week. There was question marks whether he would play this week. But the Miami defense is very good. It's very strong. We've seen it earlier on in the season how well they played against Buffalo Bills. But the reality is, with the situation they have offensively, they can only hold the team down for so long. And in fairness to the Vikings have scored within 23 to 29 points in 4 of the 5 games. The only game they didn't is the one in which they lost in Philadelphia. So they're averaging 23 points. They've gone as far as 29. Can I see the Dolphins right now putting up similar points? No. If this was a couple of weeks back with Tua involved and the way the hype was gone with the Dolphins and how they were playing, it would be a much more difficult game to select. But right now, because of the circumstances, I think the Vikings are fortunate that you land into a situation like when you look at the games during the season, you're trying to come up with a theory around how many games your team will win. The reality is it's very different come the time of the game. Same situation here. Cook, Jefferson, they'll find ways. Thielen, despite Cousins and his 5 interceptions this season, I think he'll have a nice game on Sunday. And there you have it, full house.
Full house. The Vikings at the minute are only averaging 23 points a game. Now that ranks 12th in the NFL, and you've mentioned some of their offensive weapons. They need to find a way to score more points in the game. They need to, they almost bricked the bed last week against the Bears, so they need to find that way. But the reality is, if you're going into Miami, if you find a way to play in that heat, like the Patriots struggled to do, for example, find a way, try and get to 25 to 28 points against this Miami team, who will probably find a way to run it more effectively than getting it down the field, unless this guy can do it. We'll see what happens. I like Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook combo, and I also like Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen in this game in the offense. And I think the Vikings defense will come up for them on Sunday, and they'll get the win. And that's why we have got a full house. So that's that the first full house we have tonight. I think it is.
Yep.
Look at this. Oh well, I guess we'll wait to the Cowboys game. Colin. Okay, Bengals against the Saints. This is a really intriguing game. It's in New Orleans, and this is intriguing because we were sitting in Stansted last week watching the game on Brian's phone with his 75 million notifications, so we've seen a bit of the game at least. But Taysom Hill, just unreal last week, Colin. Unreal. I'm really intrigued to see people's picks for these games. Really, because the Bengals need to win this game. You know, in every game. So the Saints can get away with a loss or two now because of where they are in the NFC. But this is a huge game for the Bengals. They have to go to New Orleans and prove to people that they can go away from home and get the ball down the field.
Do Cassidy Travel have any specials for this game? Because this is going to be party central. New Orleans is possibly the party capital, more so than even perhaps Vegas, because you can legally drink on the streets in the United States. It is an amazing city, and I can only imagine what it is going to be like for this particular game. Get yourself down there. If I win the Euro Millions tomorrow night, I will be flying out on Saturday, because it will be party central. For this one, I suppose there are lots of storylines. Obviously, we know that you've got Burrow and Chase going back, but you also have Eli Apple, Von Bell, and Trey Hendrickson. You got an Andy Dalton revenge factor. You've got the fact that the Saints are still missing their wide receivers who didn't practice again today. But, and some people may have seen the video of Joe Burrow being very spooked by a cough during the press conference yesterday, which
it's going around again, Colin, to be fair. It is going, I don't know what you boys are like down in Dublin, but it's going around again, to be fair. Like, it definitely is.
Well, he definitely jumped. And now, in fairness, the Bengals social media team made it light of it this afternoon, a good joke. But is that the fact that he's taken so many sacks? This is definitely one of those coin flip games. I can make an argument why both of these teams should win, but I think the Saints are going to want to get the win in the Superdome. They kind of got back on track last week, winning at home. Prior to last week, they'd been pretty poor at home, and even with Burrow and Chase returning, I think that this Saints defense, which is beginning to creak a little bit, it is not the powerhouse that it once was, but I think it has enough in it to ruin the homecoming for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and the Saints get the victory.
Brian, I'm just realizing, not to jump in, man, I'm just realizing we all thought, and this game was mooted as a London game for a long time. It was.
Yeah.
And I'm just realising now that the second and third overlay have not loaded. So Colin's picking the Saints. I don't know what's happened here. It went on. This is not on. So my bad. Go on ahead.
Yeah, it was selected. Oh, sorry. It was potentially one of the games initially that was indicated as a potential London game because Saints were the home team. And then reality prevailed. And as me and Colin discussed, the mayor of Louisiana would have been removed and escorted from, never mind the building, but the general area, and may not be seen again if you had allowed this game to be moved across with the economy, shall we say, in which New Orleans is going to have this weekend. Colin called out more the storylines. There's other ones. There's the Honey Badger. He obviously is with the Saints now, with LSU, Landry, LSU. There's so many storylines in this game. Henderson, he said, coming back, he's had 2.5 sacks. He's playing really well again. And I was looking at the Bengals. I've been critical of the Bengals, in particular the head coach, and I was looking at the games in which they've lost. They've lost 3 games on field goals. Things could have been very different for them. They lost to the Steelers on a field goal. They lost last weekend against the Ravens to a field goal. Haven't come back against the Cowboys. They lost to a field goal. Their defense has rebounded really well. They're top 8 in the league in terms of takeaways. They're going against the Saints offense, which is number 1 in the league for takeaways, giving away 13. We might see a few picks on Sunday, potentially pick 6. But I am siding with Colin on this one. I'm going to go with the Saints. There's just something about the Saints at home in this game. There's going to be so many storylines. And it's kind of one that feels like it's been earmarked for quite some time. A bit like last year when the Patriots were going to play Tom Brady coming back with the Bucs. And I know the Bucs won in the end, but the Patriots played really well when no one gave them a chance. And a lot of people will feel this is a game that the Bengals should be winning. But having done what they did last weekend offensively, they've got their mojo back. And Andy Dalton's going to play in this game again as quarterback for the Saints. And if anybody has a revenge factor, it's him. So for me, I'm going to go with the Saints to cause a shock.
Mark is not here, which is a pity because I'd like to hear his reasoning for picking Cincinnati. And I picked the Bengals against the Dolphins a few weeks ago. And who did the Bengals play last week?
The Ravens.
Lost to the Ravens.
And that's why I didn't pick them. Oh, I did pick them. No, I feel bad.
You did.
I did. I know I did because I think it was like bar Thursday night football and bar the London game. until that point on the Sunday, I had every game right, and I was going, oh my god, this is pretty cool. If I can get to the last game, at least I can say something. And of course, they completely messed up. I just think Taysom Hill is going to run over them. I think this will be a really, really high scoring game. It could be like 41-37 or 41-38. I really hope that is the case, because this game on Sunday should be on TV at 6 o'clock, and it's not. We've got the Falcons against the Niners instead, which I think is because of like the international home market agreement, which is fine. It's great to see teams develop in certain territories, but I do feel that this game would merit being on as well on television at the same time. Hint, hint, if anybody wants to put a game on free TV, TG Carr, I don't know. But looking forward to this one. I'm taking the Saints. I think the Saints are going to win this game. And there's some really, really intriguing battles in this game that I'm looking forward to, especially Honey Badger. But I'm really excited to see, outside of Taysom Hill, what the Saints run game is going to be like. Can the Bengals protect Joe Burrow with the Saints defense? I don't think they can. Okay. Right, well, Ravens against the Giants. Colin, Brian is picking the Giants because they're 4-1. Who are you picking?
I think this game is going to be a close one because of the Giants playing well for Brian Dable, and it is one that I did kind of go back and forth on because of the Wink Martindale factor and how I think that'll play in. But
hold on, have we got like a drinking game on the show this week? Drink every time we hear the word Wink Martindale. Like, Jesus, lads, it's not the Irish Giants show. But yes, okay.
Well, it was a former Giant who actually helped me make up my mind. That was Lawrence Tynes, who we've had on the show previously. And he drew my attention to the fact that while the Giants' defense has indeed been very good through the first 5 weeks, they've only faced the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th ranked scoring offenses, 27th as well. And the Ravens are 4th. And for that reason, I think that the Giants are going to make life very difficult for the Ravens. But as we've discussed on the pod previously, the Giants are still a few players away from, being a really, really competitive team. They obviously, Brian Dable is doing a fantastic job, but I'm going to say that the Ravens really need to get the win, and they are going to squeak it out against the Giants.
Yeah, I suppose Colin has gone down the same road that I'm about to go down, which is, it's great to be 4-1, and what we played against, you can only beat what's in front of you. I did feel that Aaron Rodgers was not playing at the level we've seen previously, which gave Giants a really good opportunity last weekend. But Lamar Jackson this season is, this contract thing is, as you said, each show is going up by the millions every time he steps on the field. And he didn't even have the best of games last week, still found ways to win. 12 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. He's only had 5 picks. I was looking at some of the touchdown comparisons this season, quarterbacks who you'd expect to be high up there. No one was up there with him. Her quarterback has only thrown 3 touchdowns this year because it's a game management situation. They're quite sturdy against the run. Will Saquon Barkley have the same games in which we've seen recently? Again, if the offensive line plays, in which it has been over the past few weeks, which has been really impressive, potentially. But again, I think it's a big ask. It's one of those games at the start of the season you never felt he had a chance. So the fact that we're here and people are now saying it's a close game that could go either way is positive. But I look at their players as well offensively. Mark Andrews, someone's going to have to shadow him throughout the course of the game. Dewberry is starting to really come on. They've got the Dobbins back. They've got all the players. Defense, secondary, for them, it concerns me. But right now, we don't have the players to really go after that. So unless Barkley has a day and Wink Martindale can completely shut them down, it's the only way I see us win. I can't see it happen on Sunday, unfortunately. Close game. Ravens have enough in the end.
Who's we? The Giants, yeah? I'm joking. I'm taking the hand. Mark is picking the Ravens. I'm going to make it really simple. I feel that this game will be a lot closer than what people think it'll be, because I feel like the defense have come up very well for the Giants over the last few weeks. I was very impressed with their performance last week. And if if the game was in London, I'd pick the Giants, 100%. But it's Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews and Dobbins and, Devin Duvernay for a start as well. That being said, Daniel Jones looked like, Peyton Manning at one point last week. Or he looked like Jalen Hurts at one point last week, running and running and running. No, I cannot pick the Giants in Baltimore. I can't do it. That being said, they've had a hell of a start to the season, but this is Lamar territory. The Ravens now need to go on a run and win as many games as they can to get up there towards the end of the season. We see games this weekend, and we'll look at Buffalo against KC and how important it is for seeding in the AFC this weekend. The Ravens have to go and win because one of those teams is going to lose, so they need to try and take advantage of that. It's a full house on the Ravens, and I'm really disappointed in Brian, and I'm going to move on because we're not talking about Giants anymore. Buccaneers against the Steelers. Can we all just agree on who's going to win this game and move on, or do we have? I'm joking. Colin, is there any way in which you can see the Steelers winning this game?
No, and I rarely say that because I'm the one who's always saying, there is hope. But you lads love to talk about locks of the week. I think this is it. It's a bad year for the Steelers. I think they made the right decision. I would have actually gone with Kenny Pickett from the very start. Trubisky ain't it, but the O-line isn't there. Najee hasn't been what they wanted him to be. Without TJ Watt, their pass rush isn't what it was. So even though the Bucs have not been maybe what we expected and they have their O-line woes, I just don't think this Steelers team, even though I expect a response from last week's game, I don't think it'll be as bad. I just have the Bucs winning this.
This is the one game I'm not really excited about this weekend. I'd see it as a low scoring affair with Kenny Pickett over 300 yards last week. I was kind of forgotten in the morning in Buffalo that he had such high numbers. But again, is he going to do it this week against a strong Bucs defense? Bucs had Lenny for
that's like making a Sunday roast, Brian, and having the best carrots, incredible mashed potatoes, lovely wee cocktail sausages, and the chicken's raw. He was shite last week. Are we gonna no?
Yeah, well, we said we said he was gonna have a difficult day. We all said it. The guy. I said it when Colin wasn't on the Monday. Me and Colin were in lockstep. He should have started from week one. If he started in week one, it wouldn't have been as daunting for him last week going into that game. Lenny Fournette came back last week, had a solid game for the Bucs, scored 2 touchdowns. To me, that's where the game is won on the weekend. To lean on him, and I don't think to be as aggressive as we've seen with this Bucs offense in the past. And they'll ease to a comfortable win in the fourth quarter. I still think Pickett might have a better game than people expect, but ultimately it won't matter because the Bucs will have enough to win.
Mark, who are you picking? I'm picking the Buccaneers. He is picking the Buccaneers, and I'm picking the Bucs as well. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I think it'll be a run game, and Brady will rest his arm for another week and wait for another game. I am intrigued to see how Kenny Pickett utilises his offensive weapons. How many interceptions will he have? The wee lad's learning, I get it. It's going to take him a while. If he gets through this game where the Steelers lose in under 10 points and he only has 1 or 2 picks, he's doing well. The defense will keep them in it for a bit. This is my lock of the week. And when I say a lock of the week, the spread, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, betting podcast for the people in the comments wondering. The spread is what, Brian? 8?
-8.
Printing money. They'll win by 9 points. 100%. 18 plus, please gamble responsibly, only bet what you can afford. But that's my pick. It was a full house on the Bucs, and we're going to shift on up to Carolina. No, this game's in SoFi, or Levi South as some people call it. It's the Panthers against the Rams in week 6, and this game is on Sunday, and ironically the Chargers play on the Monday. So we're flying through these, aren't we? Or is it just me? We are flying. Right, okay.
We are this week, yeah.
We will try, and I mean, there is I think the 2 best games are coming after this, so we will have a detailed discussion on those games. But well, let's get everyone's pick for this. I'm sure somebody out of the 4 of us have picked the Panthers to go to SoFi and beat Matthew Stafford, who, frankly, Colin, let's look at the Rams very quickly here in general. The Rams need a win, not just for their record, they need a win for themselves. Last week against Dallas, they were very, very poor. Stafford's mechanics, the way he was getting the ball down the field, it just wasn't happening. They look very low in confidence. This is the must-win game. so early in the season for them.
It is, but they're fortunate that they are playing the Panthers. I mean, nothing has gone right for Carolina. I mean, they bring in Baker, and he looks like he's having the worst season of his NFL career to date. It's just been disastrous, and unsurprised to see Matt Rule move on. Was actually surprised that they were kind of giving him another year. I think for the Panthers, this is essentially about trying to find out who sticks around for next year and what exactly they do. And in fairness, there was a very good discussion on the Athletic this week about what do the Panthers do? And maybe they do try to keep it together, because if they are bad enough, they may end up looking into one of the top QB prospects. And right now it looks like a strong glass, though obviously that was said last year as well. And, you know, the jury is definitely still out on that. But it's difficult to have a whole lot of belief in this Panthers team at the moment. I think they will be helped by the fact that essentially they cleared out all of the Rule guys. They just kind of totally changed it up. They wanted to move on from the Matt Rule era. But this should be a get-right game for the Rams. I think the Rams might well look to bring in an edge rusher, because I think they are really suffering from the lack of Von Miller. And you've seen it, what they've tried to do with Donald, right? They've moved him around, and he's dealing with an injury as well, from what I understand. But you've seen him, they've moved him to the edge, a bit like the Chiefs did last year with Chris Jones, because they're trying to get him away from some of the double teams. And obviously when Von Miller was there last year, teams couldn't double team him. But the Rams, it's not what they wanted in terms of their offense. They were really, really struggling to move the ball on the ground. And Matthew Stafford looks like a QB who is hurt and playing hurt. So I imagine for them, they just want to get this game over with and try to heal Matthew Stafford as much as possible, bring in some reinforcements and see what they can do.
Column suggests that they might look to make a potential trade or bring in reinforcements. I wonder, would that person be on the other side of the coin this weekend in Brian Bourne's defensive end for the Panthers, who a lot of media are speculating is one player that could be considered for a trade. Column suggested it's about who's there next year. Well, it'd be interesting to see who's there by the end of November, come the trade deadline. So many stories going around this week about two wide receivers, Christian McCaffrey, Brian Bourne's potentially been moved on to acquire more picks for next year, and essentially that could be the reality of the situation. They need a quarterback next year. We spoke about it the other day. Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Is there any wonder that Matt Rule unfortunately lost his job? You know, when you're having quarterbacks of that caliber as your starter, it's difficult. And the casting is they wanted to move away from Teddy. Teddy was the best one of the three. In this game, it's all about the Rams, really. They need to get the show on the road. They're 2-3. They need to win 3-3, get back to 3-3. They're averaging 16 points in offense per game. It's dire. The Panthers are averaging more. They're averaging 18 points. Akers' running game, non-existent for the Rams, 151 yards throughout the course of the season. They're averaging 50, 60 yards a game. It's not sufficient. It's not acceptable if you want to be in the run, you know, come the end of the season. And they got away for large parts of last season, then they went on that run. It's not sustainable. We felt that they might have done something in the off-season to kind of sort that out, and they haven't. Cup, obviously, he's having a great season. You know, strangely enough, he's having one of his best seasons, 4 touchdowns, over 500 yards in terms of receptions, but they're not winning games. They have to win this weekend. I see them winning. It won't be pretty. I don't even think it'll be high scoring. I think the Panthers even might hang around for 2 or 3 quarters, but in the end, inevitably, the Rams will find a way to get over the line and get back to 500.
Mark is going with the Rams. I think, you know, we talked about this on the broadcast the other night. It's the first time since the first season that McVay was with the Rams that they're sitting under 500, and it's the longest situation in which into the season that they're in this position. And I think this is a real test now over the next few weeks of Sean McVay's pedigree as a coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach with the Rams, but he's still a young coach and he still has stuff to learn, and he'll agree with that. There's ways that he wants to improve his game and game management. And I do have concerns in regards to Matt Stafford and his injury status at the moment. He's not fully fit. There's no point in even speculating that he is. I remember when it came out the first few weeks of the season, or like the build up to the first game of the season, when it was the Bills against the Rams, and there was talk, I think about a week and a half before that, about Stafford and his arm or whatever, and there was issues there, and it was very quickly shot down. And then we got into week 1 in SoFi, and it was evident that there were issues, not just with Stafford, but in terms of the general communication. It was a Super Bowl hangover. They definitely miss Von Miller, that's for sure. So there's guys they miss there. There's ways and means of doing it, and I think it shows you how difficult it is to not just repeat, but to even challenge for a second Super Bowl in a row. And that could be a situation in which Kroenke might find difficult this season. The only thing that the Rams got going for them is the NFC is so poor at the minute. The Niners fans, and fair play to them, they're great guys. They're talking about winning the NFC West already, but we're only 6 weeks in. For this game, it's intriguing because the Panthers, I don't think that they should sell the house. I don't think that they should be trading away Christian McCaffrey. I just don't see why you would do that at the minute. Keep him, draft a quarterback next year and go for it. That being said, if somebody is ready to sell the farm and get him, consider it. But I think for me, they should not look at a situation in which they just completely fold. It's just a pity for Panthers fans. David Tepper seems to know what he was doing. He gave Rule a $60 million contract with only $10 million incentives to get it to 70. How do you motivate anyone to take a job? Oh, here the way. Here's 60 million. If you do your job all right, we can give you 70. Oh, no worries. So you're telling me if I just turn up, I get 60 million? Right, sweet, no worries. Like, why would you give? And I don't get me wrong, there's plenty of coaches in the league that have plenty of incentives, but I just don't think that was the right move for the team. That being said, David Tepper's got more money than Ireland, so we'll just take it as it is. In terms of the game, I just can't see how the Carolinas get the ball down the field to stop the Rams. I think the Rams will stop them. Cooper Kupp needs to have a better game this week than he has had over the last few weeks. He's had signs. Was it the Niners game where he played really, really well? But I want to see more of a connection between Stafford and his offense, and I'm looking forward to watching this game at the weekend. This game will be crap at the weekend. It'll be like 40-7 to the Los Angeles Football Raminators.
Things can change very quickly in this league. The Rams go on a bye week next week. They'll use that time to obviously look over what they've done right and what they've done wrong. Then they come back and they play the 49ers at home. They could be, those games are always close. They turn that game around in 2 weeks' time. They're right back in division, and they have to, because the following week they go to Tampa. So 2 big games coming off the bye week. So it's pivotal that they win this weekend, and you would expect them to at least be 3-3 come midnight on Sunday.
Game of the season. This is the game of the season until at least week 18. The Bills going up against the Chiefs. I want to congratulate Jim Nantz and Tony Romo for getting this game and not being Sunday Night Football. Looking forward to hearing Tony guess what Josh is going to do on the next few plays. That's what I've missed the last few weeks, is just not being at the house to watch the games. That's like, I know it's first world problems before people in the comments start going, yeah, you were at the game. That's fair enough. But I want to sit down with a cup of tea and watch the games this weekend and call them what a game this is going to be. 2 best teams in the NFL at the minute, without a shadow of a doubt. Eagles or just under.
I would have both of these teams just above the Eagles. I think like they are the powerhouses. You would say the biggest flaw on both of these teams is the running game. But outside of that, they have been incredibly impressive. So I can only imagine how many passing yards they're going to be in this game. It is absolutely one where, the Bills are going to be out to avenge that 13 seconds that happened, obviously, in the playoffs. And they could well do it. Like, Josh Allen is playing unbelievable football. Patrick Mahomes is playing unbelievable football. I'm with Nate Geary, who has been on with us from the Bills before, when he says that this is the new Brady Manning. Nick Wright doesn't agree. Nick Wright thinks that only Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs it should just be a coronation every year, and that Josh Allen is a nothing QB. But I disagree fundamentally with Nick Wright on that. I think this is two teams who are going to go toe to toe, and I think you see it in fairness, in the vast majority of the fans. There's a lot of kind of mutual respect and admiration between these two fan bases. I like when you look, for me, I suppose this ultimately comes down to, again, I can totally see how both win it, but the Bills are missing possibly their one of their most important cogs in terms of their star safety, and I still think they're a little beat up there. And when you see what the Chiefs have been able to do, like 20 touchdowns without Tyreek Hill, with trying to find a new offense, and just the ability to, what did Travis Kelce have? 25 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was insane. It's ridiculous what he could do. I absolutely believe in the Bills, and I have the Bills to win the Super Bowl. But in this particular game, I am going to say that the Kansas City Chiefs get the victory.
They never seem to disappoint when these two teams play each other. We saw it last year in that crazy divisional round game, which Colms alluded to with the 13 seconds, and they were back and forth, and there was five lead changes in the last 5 minutes of that game. They played each other on Sunday Night Football last year. I think it was week 6, week 7. It was a fantastic game. The Bills came out on the right side of that one. It was close into the third quarter. And then obviously then the year prior to that, it was the championship game, which was also a great game. It's a really difficult. It really is. This is the toss-up game, isn't it? Like, these two teams really need to win in a sense. I know it's only week 6, but like the way the league's progressing, on the AFC in particular, the games that are won in week 4, week 5 tend to stand to you when it comes to trying to get that number 1 seed. And who wants to go into Buffalo in January and try win that game to go to the Super Bowl? I think if the road goes to Buffalo, I think they'll win the Super Bowl. If they have to go on the road again, whether it's Baltimore potentially or the Kansas City, things change. It's the first time Mahomes has ever been an underdog in any NFL game in his career. It's a surprise for me that the Chiefs, as well as the Bills are playing, I'm surprised the Chiefs aren't the favourites. Bearing in mind the amount of points they're putting up throughout the course of the season. I'm with Colm. I can't back against Mahomes in this particular instance. Close game, come down to the very end, could come down to the last drive. I think the Chiefs just find a way to get over the line.
Mark is picking... I don't want to guess now. I mean, it's a 50-50 answer. The Buffalo Bills, which is a big thing for him because he's a Patriots fan. And you know what? I can say this because Mark's not here. The Patriots certainly don't want to be going through Buffalo in January. Then again, they'd probably be very happy to at this point. That was a fun game. Do you remember that was a playoff game last year? 29 passing touchdowns between both quarterbacks through the first 5 weeks of the season, and that's even with would you call the Thursday Night Football not slow, but it was on and off with both teams. The Chiefs, was it the game in Arizona, just looked unreal. I don't know if it was Arizona or Houston. It was like week 2 or week 3. I can't remember now.
Week 1 in Arizona.
Week 1
put up 41 points.
I don't buy into this logic of I can't go against Mahomes. It's Josh Allen. I mean, Jesus Christ, look what he done last weekend. The lad is unreal. I think what's going to happen here is it's going to be a shootout. I think I did say in the betting podcast that it could hit the under. Now I do feel that both teams will just go up against each other. I don't know what the score is going to be, but I do think whether the game is played at Arrowhead, whether the game is played in Cookstown, wherever the game is played in London, wherever you want to play this game between both these teams, on its day, the Buffalo Bills are the more complete football team. The only issue they have is the run. and they still have running backs there. They need to find a way now to rush the ball more and be more successful. But they are the more complete football team. Teams are still deciding how they cover different wide receivers and tight ends for Kansas City now that Tyreek Hill's gone. And that's going to take a few more weeks for teams to try and perfect, or at least try to master. The Bills have went up a gear. They look absolutely sensational. I am not going off my Chargers pick. I don't give a damn. It's week 6. It's early days. All 3 of those teams will be up there at the end. But I have no doubt in my mind that the Bills will go in and win this game, and then they'll probably lose the game this January, whether it's divisional or championship. That's the way I see it, but they are by far the better football team from what I've seen over the first 5 weeks. The way that the confidence that Josh Allen has, I feel like he is sitting like a child at the house at the minute, excited for this game, whereas the Josh Allen 18 months ago would have been nervous for this game. They're the better team. It's as simple as that. And we'll see on Sunday. Any comments to make on that?
I mean, I think you can probably say the Bills are the most complete team. I think they're still a little bit beaten up. I also think that the Chiefs have regular season Andy Reid, and regular season Andy Reid makes better decisions sometimes than playoff and Andy Reid, and I think that to me is a factor. But this should be an absolutely outstanding game of football. It'll be everything we want. It'll be a chess match. It'll have incredible catches. It'll have phenomenal throws. It'll have some brilliant defense as well. This should be it's just going to be a fantastic game. It is. This is what we watch the sport for. And even if you're not a Chiefs fan, you're not a Bills fan, you can enjoy this one.
And that's the thing as well. I just hope it isn't like a defensive slugfest. But I think for any football fan, this is what makes this Sunday so good. I think the Bengals Saints game is going to be great. This game's going to be great. And the final game we're going to talk about is going to be an absolute clanger. And Brian O'Leary has picked against the Eagles for the first 5 weeks of the season. I actually had a conversation that I haven't told Brian about yet at my brother's wedding last week, where the guy said, is that guy going to pick against the Eagles every week? Well, I am looking forward to this. Cowboys, to be fair, have looked really good over the last few weeks. Very, very impressive. Colin, kick it off. This is a hell of a Sunday Night Football, isn't it? Huge game. Because, Colin, I'll just add this, and then here's the question for you. If the Eagles win this game, hypothetically go to 6-0, when are they losing? Please tell me.
Well, look, any week things can go against you, and we've seen some really good teams at times lose games for all sorts of reasons. Again, you never know what injuries are going to do. But
just to add to that, they've got the Steelers next week, the Texans the week after, the Commanders the week after that, the Colts, and then they've got the Packers to take them to the end of November. That is a nice schedule.
It is certainly, but things can happen, things can change. And look, I said that as somebody who picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. I've been high on Jalen Hurts for a long time. I really like how he has done with this. Now it's an enormous test against a Cowboys team. It's a divisional matchup. It's two sides who I think it's fair to say hate each other. I think that you can use that term. We've heard the build-up. We've heard Jason Kelsey, who apparently went into the medical tent today. That's a little bit of a concern, given how important he is to them. And I think for both of these teams, it's really interesting, right? Because the Cowboys have been so good on defense, and you have to admire what Dan Quinn has done. You have to admire the fact that he has learned new tricks. Okay, this isn't a guy who's rolling out the same sort of defense that he did earlier in his career. He is doing new things. He's trying new things, and the fact they're just able to get after opposing QBs. They've got Micah Parsons, who is absolutely phenomenal. I think probably between him and Nick Bosa currently for Defensive Player of the Year. But they are going up against an Eagles O-line that is built. I'm interested to see, I suppose, will they be fully fit? But the Eagles, through the first 5 weeks, have had a player win Player of the Week award each week. And that's a really good sign for a roster being well constructed. It tells you that different players have stepped up each and every week. I think this is going to be very different to the Bills Chiefs, but no less intriguing. It is not going to be the sort of maybe pass happy game that we expect between Kansas City and Buffalo, but it will be hard fought. It'll be in the trenches. I suppose what I hope is that we don't see too many flags. That would be the one concern with this game. But I have been high on the Eagles from the start. I am going to say that Cooper Rush finally loses the game and that the Eagles do move to 6-0.
Brian, did you ever watch Scrubs back in the day?
I did, yeah. Yep.
Where JD was like, Eagle! Is that you this weekend? Are you going to finally join the dark side, or what's the plan here? Going to be a hell of a game, isn't it?
You're asking me, am I going to cheer for the Eagles, Michael?
No, I mean, are you going to pick them on this broadcast? I think
it's great that we're now in a situation where the NFC East is back to the NFC East.
I was waiting for this. I've got it all set up. Through week 5 in the NFC East, for all the people on the podcast listening, here are the amount of passing touchdowns thrown by quarterbacks. We've got Daniel Jones at the bottom with 3. Cooper Rush has got 4. Jalen Hurts has got 4. Carson Wentz has got 10. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Are the Commanders in for this incredible? And this is recorded before Thursday night. Are the Commanders coming on to some incredible few weeks here? I agree. It's great to see the NFC East. Some fantastic franchises, historic franchises. The Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Washington team, whatever you want to call them this week. It's a great time, and long may it continue. At least in this game, Brian, the Giants can't lose this game because they're not playing.
Those Wentz stats back up why I said last night on the live shows why I'm not so low on Washington, because offensively they've been quite good and they should have won last week. But on this particular game, that's just the point I was going to make, and I think you're now going with this for years. The NFC East has been the butt of the jokes across the league, and 2 years ago there was a team of 7-9 in the playoffs. And in fairness, gave the Bucs a real strong game when it was Washington. But these games for years have been, as Colin said, in the trenches, battling games. I saw one there today on TV. They were showing Emmitt Smith going up, against the Eagles, and the rivalry and the trouble on the pitch and everything that comes with that game. And for me, this game intrigues me around how well this Eagles defense played, because I was quite, we saw in week 1 they gave a lot of points to the Lions as it transpired. So was a lot of other teams, but the Eagles defense has really stepped up. Where last season they were putting points on offense, but we're struggling on defense. Cooper Rush, for me, this is the game where we're really going to find out if he's the real deal. And God, if they were to win this game, where does that leave Dak Prescott next week? Makes things even more precarious for the Cowboys. But I think the Eagles will win this game. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game either, and I don't think Jalen Hurts will have the most significant games compared to what we've seen recently. But I think he'll do enough, and I think the Cowboys will find this Eagles defense too much for them on Sunday Night Football, and the Eagles will move to 6-0.
Wow, he picked the Eagles. Sweet. I tell you what, if you're not going to go to mass or church this weekend, now is your moment. Go light a candle. There is the photo moment. Mark is picking the
reverse psychology.
Like the guy on TikTok. He's picking the Commanders on Thursday night. His son might not be eating. This is really, really simple. Everyone's going on all week. I watched First Things First this week, and I watched FS1 earlier on when I was working, and I seen Skip Bayless going, "Oh, Cowboys this, Cowboys that. This Cowboys defense is great." But they're going up against Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and Miles Sanders. Oh yeah, and Jalen Hurts has ran over 260 yards through 5 games. This is not even a close game for me. Colin was right. Cooper Rush, who's unbeaten so far in Dallas, and I really have to give it to Cowboy fans. Cowboys fans' optimism this week and their mindset this week is, oh, we haven't got a chance. Nobody's given us a chance. We've nothing to lose. Yada, yada, yada. That's complete bull. They would love to win this game on Sunday. They would love it. I think the dilemma for Dallas now is, do you bring in Dak next week? Do you let him sit for a few more weeks? What do you do? That's the genuine question, because Cooper Rush looks more settled at this position. The reality is on Sunday that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown is going to run wild against this Cowboys team. The game's in Philadelphia. The crowd's going to be up for it. And Cowboy fans are going to be sticking by about 11 o'clock. And I'm sorry for saying that, but the Eagles are the best team in this division by a country mile. They're the best team in the NFC as it stands. And if they are the best team in the NFC, and if they want to be in Arizona in February and not sitting like us in the stands, please Jesus, they need to go against the Cowboys, put a marker down, win that game, and go to the week after. Jalen Hurts is too good for him to lose against Cooper Rush. Here is my lock of the week. Everyone's picking the Eagles. This has to be the week they lose. Has to be. If they go to 6-0, it's going to be intriguing. It really, really is. And people can say, oh, the Cardinals went south. This team is far better than the Cardinals team.
This is the 1972 Miami Dolphins team.
I would not go as far as that. It's not a argument or a discussion point. It's more along the fact of the NFC is extremely, extremely poor, Brian. I think we can agree with that, at the minute. And don't get me wrong, I hope your team wins the next 10 games. But generally, the division, let's say if we took the top 7 teams right now in the NFC, or top 8 teams went to the playoffs, it's crap. This team would walk over the majority of the teams. Now, they may face a different challenge if they come up against an AFC team in the Super Bowl, for example. But at the minute, for me, they're the best team by a country mile. And I would prefer to see a more positively fun, offensive team to watch than a 46-year-old man trying to swing it down the field every week. That's just the way I see it. This is what the game's going to be. We did not pick the Seattle-Arizona game, did we?
No, we let that one slide. Maybe we were holding off because we were waiting for the kickoff time to be confirmed. It could be moved because of the playoffs.
Well, that's a really intriguing thing as well. So basically, I'm going to put it out here now. It's a public note to Scott Hansen. If you even think about turning that game off on Sunday or turning Red Zone off for international viewers because it's on Fox or whatever, absolutely not, mate. Is the game in Arizona, Colin? Do you know? Is it in Arizona or Seattle?
In Seattle.
The game is in Seattle.
Just flip onto your Red Zone or flip onto your Game Pass. You'll be okay.
Guess who's picking Arizona? This guy. I'm picking Arizona. I think Kyler Murray will not show up dressed like a highlighter this week, and we'll get the ball down the field. They should, frankly, as good as I just said the Eagles are right there in that last conversation, the Cardinals should have took the Eagles to overtime last week, and they didn't, and they need to win this game. Geno Smith's stats column is incredible, and people are giving him jip all week about his performance, but the reality is he won't play well on Sunday, and the Cardinals will win this game for me. Who have you got?
Saying Geno won't play well. Well, he's certainly very, very impressive through the first 5 weeks. I think he tops PFF's grading currently, which is Geno currently is doing the business. The issue that the Seahawks have is they cannot defend the run in particular. They have been run absolutely all over. It is kind of incredible when you see past 4 games allowed 235 yards, 145, 179, 189. They're allowing more than 5 yards a carry, but I just don't trust Cliff Kingsbury to actually lean into the run. I just think like I don't know what the cards are, and I don't think Cliff knows what he wants the cards to be. And they do all sorts of mad stuff on defense. Vance Joseph is just creating plays that almost seem to be confusing his own defense at times. Kyler Murray could absolutely take this game over, and the Seahawks decide, he puts it, he's very mobile. He is very capable of picking up yards himself. But I think that the Seahawks are going to score too many points for the Cardinals, and I am going to say that the Seahawks win.
Cockerell hasn't cocked up. He's picking the Cardinals, Brian.
And you're picking the Cardinals. So that's 2 cards. So I have to make it an even, Stephen. I agree with...
No, you don't. You just want Seattle to win because you came out and said they were going to win 12 games this season. That's the problem.
Look, whatever you say about the wins, you can't be disappointed with how they played. Like, they've been very entertaining to watch. Offensively, they put up a lot more points than people expected. Defensively is ultimately where they have their flaws, but they could come out on the right side of a number of high-scoring games. And I do genuinely believe it will be this weekend because the Cardinals are so inconsistent. Like, they ran the Eagles close last week. Tends to what happens the following week, they have self-destruct and have a bad game. And for a long time last week, it looked like Seattle might have gone in and won in New Orleans, and Taysom Hill had other ideas about that. But no, they lost out in the last home game against the Falcons when they had an opportunity to win, which again was a high-scoring game. I think it'll be the reverse of that this weekend. Both teams will put up points, but I think the Seahawks will find a way to win. So for me, Geno gets it over the line, and they go back to what would that be? 3-3, same record as the Rams if they were to win it Sunday.
You're only 10 away from your total, and if you get that,
it's going up with a week. I think maybe 6 away.
Okay, that's it. That is it. Any plans for the weekend, Colin?
Away home to Cork tomorrow night, and then back up on Sunday to look forward to watching. The Broncos aren't playing till Monday night, so I can watch stress free on Sunday. And
that could be a stretch. Yeah.
I can enjoy the games, take it in. I think there are some absolutely fantastic games. There are going to be some surprises. Undoubtedly, we know there are every week, but that obviously the Bills Chiefs game is one that stands out, and the Eagles Cowboys. I can't believe you called that the lock of the week. To me, that could go. I can't wait to see them go up against one another. I think it is proper kind of trench warfare that you're going to see. But I do have the Eagles to just about edge it. I hope my lad is back because I think watching him go against either of the Cowboys rushers will be fantastic.
Brian, any scoops planned?
No, not this weekend. No, we've had 2 busy weekends. I'm glad to be home and resting up for Sunday. Ideally, it'd be great if the Giants could win the 6 o'clock game, and then I go into the 1 o'clock game, resting up and seeing who takes each other off in the division. But no, look, for me, the game, we've all said at the game of the weekend is Chiefs Bills. That's the one that's earmarked, and I do agree that one earlier on between the Bengals and Saints is the makings of a great game, especially with all the scrutiny and storylines that comes with so many people coming back into the Louisiana area and the whole LSU connection. Looking forward to that game as well.
I will be in Moynihan on Saturday night. If anybody does see me, feel free to say hello, because we're getting to the point now where people are coming up and saying hello. So please feel free to say hello, but let me know who you support. Please do. And Pok Fada Saturday night.
We have a couple of questions that came in. One for maybe Mr. O'Leary here.
Here we go.
Saquon.
Absolutely.
More chance of Brian winning the Rose Trilly.
Michael has summed it up well. If things hadn't progressed the way they have at the start of the season, I could understand why that would happen, but not now. In fact, I think there'd be more of a discussion around getting a contract done before the end of the season.
Starting a petition to move the Broncos to Cookstown. We've got the Mid-Ulster Sports Arena. I think that would be a good shout. Shout out to all. There's a lot of Broncos fans in Toronto. There actually is, genuinely. So shout out to all those boys. We're gonna have a meet and greet in McAleer some night. So stay tuned for that on Twitter. Any other questions, Colin, before we pop off? Keith was not happy with my non-Miami pick. He said that I have picked the Dolphins this year. I just don't think you're gonna win it with a first string quarterback this week. That's literally the only reason why.
There was a question about the podcast that you two boys do. Do you want to give that a shout out for anyone who's watching who may not be aware of that?
6 a.m. tomorrow morning, betting podcast. We go through our bets. It's America's Game of the Week, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Brian very eloquently prepares the odds and notes. I have to give it to him. Really, really well done. And yeah, 18 plus, gamble responsibly. Do not listen to what we're saying. If you want to have a listen for the crack, you can get some of the picks ahead of the time. But Jesus, do not be taking our advice on board. We're not doing too bad though. My lock of the week is Bucks -8. in terms of that. But I do think the lock of the week is Philly moving the sticks in there.
You've got some set of keys there, Michael. The amount of locks you have. Please take time to listen to it. We cover the handicap, the totals, and on 3 games, as Michael has said, and we tend to try throw in a goal, touchdown scorer a bit as well. But no, my lock of the week is Minnesota. Keith won't like hearing that, but I think because of their injury situation at quarterback, I think the Vikings will find a way to win and cover that spread, which is -3 points. But please take time to listen to the podcast, because me and Michael take time out every week to put it together and put it out on a Friday morning.
I mean, it literally takes 15 minutes, but sure, it's grand. Anyway, look, back Monday night. If you're watching the game tonight, God help you, please give us a review in the podcast. Chat to you soon. Slán go fáil, keep her lit. Good luck. Goodbye. Bye bye.